Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Equity.Guru Investor Roundtable. I'm Rob. That is Chris Perry waving to you in the far corner. He is the guru. He's pointing towards myself, and also down to the basement to Galen, who's I don't know, it's a little foggy in the background there, but you look good.
Magic.
Smoking up.
And Vishal upstairs in the gold vault. He's going to start us off. Today we're talking about the ag mini sector, agriculture. Hey, we got to eat. We have to eat. We're going to talk about Beyond Oil, BOIL, B-O-I-L, on the Canadian Exchange out of Mission, British Columbia, EarthRenew out of Toronto, ERTH on the Canadian, and CUB on the Toronto Exchange. It's Cubic Farms. Boy, they've been popping lately under Dave Dennison. They've been on our site with Jody, they've been on our site with Maddie, and they've been on the site with us. And right now they're on our site with Vishal.
We love our agriculture. Well, I do. I certainly do. And I want to start with Beyond Oil, a recently new IPO company that deals with oil filtration. We're talking about cooking oil and frying oil. Not sure if you guys know, but cooking oil inflation came up to 30% for the month of May, the highest in Canadian record. So getting that oil, cooking oil, is very expensive and is definitely impacting the restaurants. However, Beyond Oil has their Friday oil product here, which eliminates harmful fatty acids. But not only that, it allows you to reduce costs because it extends the oil frying days that you have. And here's an example of Beyond Oil's product for 7 days, which will allow restaurants to save $23,000 per year with this oil inflation. So a very interesting company here, given the circumstances with what's going on in the cooking oil market. EarthRenew, we've spoken about them many times in the past. I'm very optimistic about their regenerative fertilizer line of business, and that's ramping up production because there is a fertilizer shortage in some parts of the world. Just Google fertilizer shortage, you'll see it's affecting parts of Africa and parts of Asia already. And Reuters just put out an article this morning about how it's going to affect North American food supply. So we're going to need more fertilizers. The other thing you can do is use your urine, human urine, but there's some issues with that. And I think right now EarthRenew is in a good spot. They've just raised a lot of money, so now it's up to Keith Driver and the team to get some catalysts going. And then finally, Rob,
I thought dung was I didn't know urine was the thing. I thought it would be more urine, dung related.
Oh, there's actually human urine too. You can read about that in my article today.
All right.
They're using it in parts of Africa, and some German scientists are behind it as well. Finally, CubicFarm, company that we really love here, dealing with indoor farming. They sell modules. And as Rob, you mentioned, big news today with an announcement of 26 modules sold here in BC for 4.4 million and 100 more modules to be also installed in the near future. And if I do the math using the 4.4 million, that comes to about $17 million in module sales. And you can see the stock had a really nice day with a gain of 28% on the US exchange and 21% on the Canadian.
Wow. We like ourselves some Cubic Farms lately. They've been on our site. We've been hammering them and it's going well. Chris Perry.
Yeah, imagine how well they'd be doing if they actually had a marketing program.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. On the Beyond Oil front, folks over in the West here may not be as clued in on this subject matter as other places, but in Asia particularly, something called gutter oil is a really big deal. This is where restaurants empty their oil fryers, sometimes literally into the gutter or into a dumpster, and other people come suck it up, clean it or not clean it, and then reuse it in cooking in other places. Particularly disgusting, but literally a big deal in China, where the practice has been kind of widespread for some time. And
was that a burp?
I'm growling back there. And so the rise in the cost of cooking oil is not just a thing based around more recent supply chain economics, but it's literally a big deal when restaurants make up so much of our food supply chain now.
100%.
It costs a lot of money to get virgin oil into your fryer. And so recycling of oil is a big deal, legal and otherwise. You'd much obviously prefer it to be legal and regulated and clean. But there's a lot of oil out there that is waste. And so beyond oil is something that's really interesting to me. EarthRenew, we've talked about a lot. I really like the economics of that thing. It's been really difficult to get people interested traditionally because it's not a 3-word explainer. The business model is a little bit more of a pilot program, a new technology, and it's kind of pivoted a few times along the way, perfecting its deal. But we've liked it for a long time, and I'm glad that finally people are starting to pay attention. And then finally, Cubic Farms, look, with obviously the trail off over the last few months of the share price here from $1.20 down to 37.5 cents. That's kind of been, I guess some of that is related to the general economy. But it's interesting to see that sudden jump up in the last couple of weeks as people realize that maybe there's a little value here that hadn't been previously recognized. We're definitely, all three of these companies are interesting in different ways and in areas that I think are only going to get more and more valuable if they can kind of build a moat around their technologies and become fairly widespread useful. There's a lot of money to be made here. I kind of like this sector a lot, and I really like the fact that any one of these, especially beaten up as they have been over the last few months, can have a 30% jump in one day from just a little bit of good news. So, Cubic Farm up 22% today without any real problem. And it just tells you that there's a lot of volatility here, a lot of pent up interest. And I think as the economy starts to push up, I think there's these things are really sort of slung hard to a place where they could really rebound really quickly.
I was going to say, I'm very much looking forward to the money portion of the show today because it's interesting to follow up Cubic Farms in particular where they are. Galen, you've spoken to at least 2 of these guys at some point. What do you think?
Well, I think where we are with agriculture right now is we're in an important inflection point. The arable land that we have to grow produce on is, well, non-existent. We've actually used all of it. So basically, we're now forced into a situation of optimization. And this is what all these 3 companies sort of focus towards. And in the 21st century, we need to know how to put the nutrients back into the soil that we're growing this food in a regenerative way, rather than just dumping chemicals on it and then hopping to another field later on, hoping at some point that it's going to actually build itself back up again. These are very important. EarthRenew deals in its process with dealing with another contaminant or pollutant, which be livestock manure, using it as a basis for its fertilizer. That's another perfect thing. It's an illustration of the circular economy and something that we all need to sort of become at one with if we intend to survive over the next 50 years. CubicFarm Systems is an interesting concept in that it deals with the modular agricultural growth sector. Big ag is kind of a albatross hanging around our neck. We have to learn to be able to condense things and have them closer to our living quarters, as it were, so we don't have that transportation cost and all those factors that drum in with a supply chain that are really not all that helpful to the environment or to you or I in terms of food freshness and other types of things. So Cubic Farms, of course, is in the process right now of also generating animal feed too, which is another huge thing. So we don't have to chop down the Amazon in order to feed the cattle. The thing is that we need to be able to, they are in the process of progressing their technology, because right now it's smaller foodstuffs. We're talking about like tomatoes and that kinds of things that you would typically see in a hothouse or a greenhouse. It would be nice to see something of a grander sort of aspect to it. And I think this is possible. And if not, it's still a large portion of what we do eat. So a very important technology. Dave Denison and Keith Driver, the CEOs of both EarthRenew and Cubic Farms, are very passionately involved in their mandates. They're not just trying to turn a quick buck and hoping, like Elon Musk, to fool a lot of people long enough that they're going to give them money. They actually have something and they believe in it deeply. And this is stuff that's actually going to help the planet. So I'm a big backer of both those things. I hadn't heard about Beyond Oil until just recently, but in and of itself, because the rate at which we use cooking oil across the planet, and the, as Chris illustrated, the disgusting ways in which we deal with it post the use, this is something that's also widely needed. We need to conserve more, use less, and this company is focused on that. These companies are in a position right now where they're small cap. There's a lot of growth opportunity. You can also, and you have to say along with that, there's also more risk. But I think the way these companies have positioned themselves, the news that they're bringing out, the news flow is all very important. That I'm not going to say it's de-risked, but I'm going to say it's a good play to take a look at for growth stocks that you're considering. Don't invest in fucking Bitcoin or NFTs. These are the things that you should be looking at, right? They have a long-lasting impact. They produce real products, and they will change the world.
Hey, it took 9 minutes for you to rip Elon Musk on this edition of the
New record.
By the way, not only the one thing that Dave Denison brings up as well, points out with the indoor, growth is, you talked about dried up land.
Yep.
Not just in third world countries, but in the United States. Colorado River is running at about 10% of its capacity. So water is a huge deal, and these indoor systems use a hell of a lot less of it. And that's probably why, Michelle, maybe they're popping on the charts.
For sure, yeah. Just as you said, using less resources to increase yield. We see that, I think, as an overall theme with the agricultural space and the new ag tech companies. And I think it leads to a sustainable planet, of course, and sustainable food. We will take a look at the charts, but for more details on the technicals, check out my article, which came out today, where I go into depth on some of these levels. But Beyond Oil, as we said, just recently IPO'd. It came out, IPO'd on May 25th. So just over a month now. I thought it was July for a second, but it's June. About to turn to July. We are basically working with a few technical levels. And as you guys know, when IPOs come out, I like to give it some time just so we have a few technical levels to work with. And the big support zone that we are now working with is that $1.15 area. And there was a big sell-off on the 27th of June, 19% decline. There wasn't any major news that came out for that decline. I think it was just more of a take some profits because the stock did hit highs of $2.25 in less than a month. So that would have been a nice, what is that, about a 238% gainer there if you did buy at the beginning of the IPO there. And now essentially I'm watching for price to maybe find some support at around $1.15 or see if it can climb back above $1.87. But I think this is one where, it's still a bit early stages, but I think you can, begin to accumulate on a bit of a drop there. However, they are coming out with good news with trials with Joey's restaurants and licensing for selling their stuff. So I think there's good momentum for this company. And of course, with the oil inflation that we just found out, I think this could get on more people's radars than it is now. EarthRenew, we've spoken about this company in the past, big gap down here at 30 cents. That was the financing, so it was a bit of a discounted financing. It came in at 25 cents, which saw that big gap down, and the stock has just been climbing back down to support at around 17 to 15 cents. I would say there's big support there, but hopefully we can build some momentum here and try to reclaim 25 cents to get back above that level where the financing was done. There are also some warrants, I believe, around 32 cents. So keep that in mind as well. But the company has the money. They can, get catalysts going, which can get the stock price turning around. And then finally, CubicFarm, after it broke down below $1 this year, it hasn't really been a good year for the company. We also broke below 50 cents, but in the last few days, some signs of buying. And of course, on the day we're recording, the stock was at 1 point up 39%, but closed 21% on the news of those 26 modules. So I think that's a good catalyst. I'm seeing some positives here, seeing a nice, nice 21% day, getting close to closing back above 50 cents, which is a major psychological zone. And then as a technical thing, we are finally breaking back above my moving average here, which is very important, especially when the stock is in a trend. I don't really count a range like this where price is breaking back above the moving average. It's not really a technical analysis indicator, but when we have a long downtrend and we have a candle breaking back above the moving average, that's a very positive sign here. So we have good news and the technicals are lining up here. So there could be a bottom in CubicFarms being formed here. And I'm really excited for the next few trading days on CubicFarms.
Outstanding, which brings me to my anticipation of hearing what Chris Perry will do and what you should do typically with a company that has just shot up 21% on one exchange and 28% on another. Do you hop on it at that point because it's trending, or what do you do?
No, I think that you want to see an upward trend that goes longer than one day. One big jump like that, you're kind of chasing. Chances are really good that people who bought it at 40 cents are going to wake up tomorrow morning and go, oh, 52. Fuck, I might as well cash in my profits on that one. You want to see a sustained jump. Of the three, I really I think that Beyond Oil is probably the most interesting to me, in as much as that stock chart really looks like it's got a sustained run. Yeah, there's been some profit taking the last couple of weeks, but it seems to have based out a little bit at $1.50. I'd be interested in putting maybe 2,000 onto that of your 75. EarthRenew, I think, is just nuts cheap where it is. I think this is a really good place to drop in. It looks like it's based out, and I think that there's really some room to move on the upward side, especially if the economy catches a little bit of a grip. So I'd put $3,000 in at this point. CubicFarms, I just don't know what to make of it just yet. I know that there were people saying, hang back, let's see if they actually sell some of these things. And they just sold some of these things for a tune of about $4 million. So the stock chart has jumped, but it did settle down a little bit over the course of the day.
Yeah.
So, you know, anytime you see something jump up to 60 cents and then drip back to 52, you know, people might have got a bit excited. I'd say that's probably like to slink back maybe a few cents over the coming days, but there will be a chance to sort of see where this thing sets a floor and build up from there. A lot of times we do these mini sector pieces, and your companies are a real mix of like potential, shit, more potential, more shit. These three are three good companies. I think that they're all three really interesting places to buy in. The economy slide has negatively affected all of them. In EarthRenew's place, a recent financing that was lower than I think people expected, I think has negatively impacted that share chart. Let's be honest, if a private placement is in at 20 cents, people will sell for 18, buy back in at 20, and get that warrant. That's still a pretty decent deal, even if you're buying in for a few cents more than you sold. So that's kind of the explanation for me as to why that stock is where it is. People are getting in the private placement. They know it's likely to go up. They're getting the warrants tossed in at a pretty reasonable price. So that means, hey, sell at 18 cents, 17 cents, buy in at 20 cents or 25 cents, and you're still doing well on the deal. So I would expect that once that financing is cleared and the dust is settled, that there might be some upward movement there. I like all three of them. In the current economy, they all make sense.
So 5K out the door. Galen.
Well, and a big believer in all three of these companies. I believe that they have proven through over time that they are legitimate and intend to move forward. Of course, there is still risk. These are growth stocks, but as Chris mentioned, there's more to them than just a vaporware company saying they're going to develop something in 12 months. So I would thinking that I'm going to throw down 7,500. I'm going to go 25 on each. I think they've reached a level that is sort of sustainable. And even if there is some fluctuation between now, because I'm a long-term investor, between now and let's say my 10-year window, I'm doing okay. I'm doing all right. So 75 for me, man.
Look at that.
In
Michelle.
goes the big ones.
I'm going all in as well, Rob. I think technical wise, EarthRenew and Cubic Farms have the best looking setups if you want to enter something right now. But I'm there with Galen as well. I think long term, this is the space you want to be in. The macro setup is great. I think, maybe around fall time when the season for the harvesting comes around, we might see a bit more news about what's going on in the agriculture space. I like all three companies. Disclaimer, I am a shareholder in Cubic Farms and EarthRenew, but I'm going to be buying all three and split it evenly, just like Galen.
Wow. Almost a bell today, but not quite. By the way, I have to point out that political correctness in the geopolitical world started about 15 years ago. I called them third world countries. It changed to developing countries about 15 years ago because, they're sensitive. The quote of the roundtable today was the growling dog. And the timing was amazing because it came right as Chris was talking about reusing cooking oil. And I really did think it was one of your stomachs. By the way, folks, we cannot guarantee past performance will bring you future results. That's for damn sure. That's why I asked Chris about the boost in the CubicFarm Systems. And what we tell you is not guaranteed either. So please do your own homework and do your own research before investing. And we wish you all the best. And we also wish we'll see you again on the next Equity Guru Investor Roundtable.